I work as a community mental health promoter, and it's a new program that is funded by Riverside County's Behavioral Health Department. So the goal of our program is to go out into the community and promote mental health awareness, reduce the stigma of mental health, and also educate the county on the resources that are available by Riverside County to help you take care of your mental health. So today, it's a series of 10 presentations. Today it is just the basics. We're going to talk about mental health basics, and it's kind of like an introduction for all 10 of the more detailed slides. And we're just going to learn about mental health and like ways to take care of our mental well-being. So this presentation is educational. I am not a mental health professional like a therapist or a psychiatrist, but if you are interested in reaching those kinds of supports, I'm able to connect you with those types of people later on towards the end of the presentation. So the presentation overview, we're going to talk about mental health, what is mental health versus mental illness, because sometimes those words are used interchangeably, but they're actually very different. The mental health spectrum, stigma reduction, mental health risk factors, mental health protective factors, and then resources by the community. So our topic today is on mental health, and I wanted to ask you guys if you're able to define mental health in your own words. Who wants to try to define mental health? I wasn't able to do this before starting the job.
It's kind of like a physical health, this is a mental health. So you could have a physical illness, but mental
They're good.
Illness too.
Yeah, I actually use that as an example. Have you done presentations before? That's one of the examples I give. Just like we take care of our physical health, we should be taking care of our mental health. Yes, I like that comparison.
It is very smart.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, so the definition of mental health, it includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act, and it helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. And this is from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Association. So it impacts how we feel about ourselves, but also how we feel about others, how we cope with the normal stressors in life, so everyday things that happen to us, how do we react to that? That's determined by our mental health. And then I want to express that we all have mental health. Everyone in this room, we all have mental health. And it's just as important as our physical health. And there are many things that we can do to take care of our mental health. So now I want to compare mental health to mental illness. So quick review, mental health, like I said, it's our emotional, psychological state, our social well-being, how we feel about ourselves, how we interact with others. While mental illness, it refers to a wide range of diagnosable disorders that affect our mood, thinking, and behavior. So some examples of mental illness, there's depression, anxiety, substance use disorder, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia. So do we see like that there's a difference between mental health and mental illness, and they are not the same? Everyone has mental health, but not everyone has a mental illness. And just because someone is taking care of their mental health, that does not mean that they have a mental illness, because everyone should be taking care of their mental health. Mental illnesses require a diagnosis of a licensed professional, just like a physical illness would require a diagnosis from a doctor. And whether or not we have a physical illness, we should still take care of our physical health, right? So even though I'm that we're physically healthy, we still take care of our physical health. We eat healthy, we like to exercise, we sleep good. The same should apply to our mental health. We should take care of our mental health even if we do not have a mental illness. Does anyone have questions on this slide, or was it pretty clear?
Pretty clear.
Thank you. So this is the mental health spectrum. It helps us better understand mental health and mental illnesses. So we are all on the mental health spectrum, and there's at different points in our lives, we may have been at different points on the spectrum. So starting on the left side, it says wellness. So alhamdulillah, wellness is like you're doing pretty good, you feel good, you're happy. Even if you're not happy, you're fine, you're okay. And you should be doing something called prevention, which means we should be doing activities that help us prevent getting like mental illnesses, like maybe depression or anxiety. So these are just activities that we should do to take care of ourselves to keep us emotionally well. So what are some examples of that? Eating well, socializing, going to the masjid, coming to see and talk to your friends, things like that, doing stress management techniques. And then, so that would help us continuing to stay well. But sometimes, life, Allah challenges us, things happen, our mental health can be compromised, and maybe like we lost the job, we lost our loved one, something happened, which causes us to feel kind of bad. So at this point, we should do something called early intervention. And what that means is we should go, early intervention, what that looks like, it's like talking to a healthcare provider, maybe saying, this, and that happened to me, and I'm worried how it's going to affect me. Maybe going to like your school counselor and talking to them about what you're struggling with, or seeking brief therapy services. Coming to the masjid, speaking to a trusted leader here, telling them what you're looking for. Just seeking support and advice. That's what early intervention is, just getting initial support and advice. But if we continue feeling bad and we are not getting that kind of support, if we're continuing to feel bad and we're not getting good support, we might start to notice, we will notice in ourselves that we are feeling more unwell. We might be more frustrated in our lives. We might be more upset. We might have less patience for those around us. We're just not feeling well. Like the things that we were interested in, we're not interested in anymore. So that's when our mental health is impacting our daily life. It affects our relationships. We might be fighting every day with the people around us because we're not feeling good mentally. And that's when you notice that you are not feeling good, you are feeling bad, and that's when you should seek treatment. So there's lots of treatment options such as psychotherapy, like therapy, psychiatric care, talking to a psychiatrist, or maybe treatment-focused support groups for that specific thing you are struggling with. And then through treatment, inshallah, we will move on to recovery. So the spectrum just helps us understand that we all have mental health and we all experience it differently. And depending on how we're feeling, there's different things that we can do to take care of our mental health. In order to make our mental health a priority, we need to reduce the stigma that is associated with mental health. Like our brother was saying, he suggested to me that even the name of the presentation, Mental Health Basics, our minds already start creating like a stereotype when we hear the word mental health, especially in our community. There's not like a positive thinking of mental health. Even in like my own family too, like mental health is just not something that gets talked about, it's not something that's understood. I've had people come up to me and say, oh, we don't even have a word for that, for like mental health, or for like depression, things like that. He was like, I had a brother from actually Temecula Mosque who came up to me. He was like, sister, I didn't even know what the word for depression was in my language. We never knew what that feeling was. My coworker, she does the same task as me. She says, yeah, we don't even have words to describe these feelings, these negative emotions that we're feeling. And it just shows there's a huge stigma. For those who don't know what stigma means, it's like a taboo, a mark of disgrace, or just like a negative label one has and associated with like the word of mental health. So what are some ways we can reduce the stigma of mental health in our community? Because it's important for us to reduce stigma of mental health, because there are people in our community who struggle with it. And imagine you are that person who is struggling with your mental health, and you hear all the negativity of what you're dealing with being described. It's not going to help you. It only makes that person feel worse. And our whole goal, inshallah, is just to make the community feel safe. We want everyone to feel better and get healthy. So we just want to help reduce the stigma in the community. And just by you guys being here and increasing your knowledge on mental health, alhamdulillah, you guys are doing a good job, and this helps reduce the stigma in our community. So thank you guys all for being here again. And another way we can reduce stigma in the community is by increasing empathy for one another. And we put in this little video to help help show like what exactly empathy looks like. Because even for me, I didn't really know. I was like, empathy, sympathy, like I don't know the difference. I don't, but this is a good example.
and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy.
Oh, sorry.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space where someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, huh? No. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. I have it, yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
If we go to response, it's not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I was guilty of this too. When I first watched the video, I was like, oh yeah, sometimes I'm the person that tries to be sympathetic, but you're only making things worse, really.
Right.
So the best thing we can do for someone is just to let them know you hear them. Even if you might not understand what they're going through, just being an opening ear and trying to help them be more vulnerable, be able to like open up to you. That's the best thing we can do for someone, because it's really difficult for someone in general to open up with what they're struggling with, and it's difficult for them to share with others. So when someone does share with us, we should practice empathy by listening with care and showing them respect and kindness, turning towards them and just supporting them and trying to find help. That's probably the best thing we can do for them, just as a friend or like giving a listening ear. But yeah, I love showing that video. That was let me go to the next slide. So, why do you guys think mental health is important? What's your guys' answer to that? Why do you think it's important for us to talk about mental health, or in general, why is it important for us? Why is mental health important?
Because rest of the people beside me should be as smart as me, and they're not. Generally, that's the thing, right? Just
First, we can reduce a lot of this mental health related issues like suicide and those kind of things, killing, kind of lot.
Even for us, yeah, exactly. Why is taking care of your mental health important? So we reduce the risk of suicide and other mental illnesses. That's
just to accomplish even little tasks or long-term goals, we have to be at a state where we feel well.
exactly.
Otherwise, we won't be even able to accomplish small tasks.
And we need to be patient with are difficult to do, especially if we're feeling unwell.
The way I see it, if you don't have a mental health, you can be actually excluded from the society. You cannot be functioning
Exactly.
with the society.
That you have low self-esteem, you know, just not think that you're not worthy enough, you can always shy away from the society.
Mhm.
Social,
Exactly, because that is a sign of someone struggling with mental health. You see them less out in public. Their social levels are low. They're not able to talk with others, or even they might be in the room, but they're not themselves. They're not who they are. Yeah, that's
a lot of potential talent can be completely ignored.
Exactly.
That person could be very, very talented because of the mental illness. They live in the shadow, they live in the cave.
exactly. I love these answers. Thank you guys for sharing. So yeah, mental health is very important, and because depending on how we take care of our mental health, we can experience life very differently. So a person who takes care of their mental health versus a person who doesn't, they're gonna experience life very differently, even if they're having the same life experiences. So let's say a person who does take care of their mental health. So there's a person who takes care of their mental health. They're going to be able to handle difficult situations better. And when something bad happens to them, they'll be more calm, they'll feel more relaxed, and they'll be more confident with how they handle the issue. But someone who already doesn't take care of their mental health, they're struggling, they're not doing so well, and something bad happens to them on top of that, let's say they lose their job, they're just going to get worse, and things are going to like spiral for them. So it's important for us to, because in this life, Allah is always testing us. We're always going to be challenged with things. It's important for us to take care of our mental health so that when these life challenges are constantly coming our way, we're going to be able to overcome them. Even if we're barely making it through, just from us taking care of our mental health, we'll be able to overcome these difficult life situations a bit easier. The person who struggles with their mental health, they'll feel more negative, stressed, and overwhelmed when something happens to them. Whereas someone who has good prevention techniques, they have good support groups around, good areas of support, like the measure, the great community, they'll be able to handle life's challenges a bit easier. So it's important for us to take care of our mental health so we can just go through life a bit easier and we're not struggling as much with difficult situations. Now I want to tell you guys about some things that can impact our mental health. So an obvious answer, what are things that impacts our mental health that can cause us to maybe struggle with our mental health? Just things that can happen. Stress, everyday stress. Every day there's going to be stress. Stress, fears, worries, things like that. Maybe losing our job, losing a loved one. Things like big life challenges, war, dealing with a war, trauma, having problems with maybe our family or just relationship problems in general. These all have a huge impact on our mental health, especially if they're happening regularly. So, but there's also other. So when do we know if our mental health is in need of care? There's signs in different aspects. There's physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, and also behavioral symptoms. So physically, how will we feel if our mental health is in need of care? Does anyone want to give an example of some physical symptoms you feel?
Sleeplessness, digestive system,
digestive system. Yeah, that's a good one. That one's not really talked about, but yeah, maybe you have an increased appetite or decreased appetite, or you're just those are good symptoms. Headaches, tension in your body and shoulders. You might feel more stressed in your body, and that's because that's just the stress impacting your body. For me, I get stomach aches, or I feel like my heart is always racing, and I can't catch a breath. I'm struggling to breathe. So those are all physical symptoms. Some people, sweating palms, things like that. Emotionally, will be a mess, right? You might feel more frustrated, grouchy, or sad, or angry, or maybe you feel yourself crying more often. Emotionally, it's you're on edge and you're on the verge of, you're just not who you were before, basically. You might be on the verge of tears, things like that. And then behaviorally, you might notice we're fighting with everyone around us. No one is safe. You're fighting with your parents, you're fighting with your spouse, your children, the people around you, your coworkers, and you realize, oh, I'm the problem, it's me. I'm the one that has the issue. And then some people, like we said, socially, they stop showing up to maybe school, work, or social events, or they might stop taking care of themselves, like maybe they're not eating, or they're not sleeping, they're maybe hygiene. It's hard for, I know people, if they struggle with depression, it's hard for them to get up in the morning, fix their bed, brush their teeth, things like that. So those are all the signs that your mental health is compromised, and there's many more, but those are like more the big ones. And it's basically your body telling you that you need help and you need to take care of yourself. And it's important for us to recognize these signs. So these are other factors that also contribute to mental health problems. Like we said before, everyday stress, maybe life problems. But there's other things that are out of our control. Biological factors such as your genes or your brain chemistry. Some people are just wired that way. You might struggle with depression and anxiety, and you go to therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, and they'll tell you, oh, you just have a chemical imbalance in your brain, which means you are more susceptible to feeling more negative and like pessimistic, things like that. And those are things that are just out of our control. Some people are just they're wired to feel that way. And then, life experiences such as trauma or abuse, things that are out of our control. Maybe you have a family history of mental health difficulties, or unresolved issues in your past that are impacting you now. So next I wanted to talk about coping skills, because earlier we talked about how prevention and coping skills, these are things that we can do to take care of our mental health. These are things that we can implement into our routine just to help us take care of ourselves and keep us feeling mentally well. So what are some ways that you guys like to take care of yourselves? What are some coping skills that you think we should be doing? I know for me, I like to go on walks, just going outside, especially it's too hot now. I haven't been on a walk in a while, but just going outside just makes me feel better, maybe like a breath of fresh air. That's something I like to do if I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Taking a vacation.
Yes, that's a great way, taking a vacation. Even if it's a little one, like I'm gonna go visit my grandma who lives an hour away.
Yeah.
White feathers?
Do your actual daily prayers and
Yeah, that's what I was
meditations.
gonna say, prayer.
I have a whole slide on that. Ways that we can take care of ourselves. I like that one.
Make it wudu and make it.
Exactly, wudu, even just doing wudu by itself, like the act of like washing your face, it's like very calming, and doing wudu in general. And other ways like exercise, if you're someone that likes to go to the gym, like go just like, sometimes if you're in the environment that's so stressful and like, I just need a break, let me go to the gym, or let me go on a walk, just getting out of the house. Some people watching a movie just helps distract their brain. For me, I like to talk to my relatives, my friends. I'll talk on the phone, and like it helps. It's like a healthy distraction for me. Getting good sleep, making sure that we're sleeping on time so we give our body a chance to rest and reset. So those are just some coping skills. And next I wanted White Feather to give us a preview, talk about Islamic or religious coping skills in general. So let's see how we can use Islam to nourish our mental health. The Quran describes humans as prone to anxiety and fear. And I just wanted to share with you guys a study from Yaqeen Institute shows that practicing religion plays a vital role in mental health. It is linked to both lower levels of mental illness and higher levels of positive mental health. So practicing religion, just being someone that does their daily prayers, does the God, you will have lower levels of mental illness, like less likely to develop mental illness, and inshallah higher levels of just being positive mental health. So I thought that was very important. Islam acknowledges negative emotions and it offers practical tips to overcome them. So some Islamic coping skills that can help our mental health. First, there is salah, prayer. Regular prayer, it gives us structure, spiritual connection, and just a sense of peace. And when the Prophet ﷺ, when he felt overwhelmed or troubled, he instinctively and routinely sought refuge in Allah through prayer. Like for example, before the Battle of Badr, we know that he was making salah and dua to Allah during his time of need. Literally right before a big battle, he wasn't, sharpening his sword or just sleeping. He went immediately, he was making dua the whole night, making salah, making prayer, asking Allah for help. And I think it's important for us to do the same when we are struggling with something, or if there's something big and important coming up for us, maybe like a big work event or something stressful, we should instinctively just go to Allah, give Allah all of our problems. And then next is dhikr, or remembrance of Allah or God in general. Repeating phrases of like adhkar, say alhamdulillah, subhanallah, it can help us calm the mind and it helps reduce stress. And Allah says, remember me. Allah says if we remember Him, He will remember us. And that is so important. Where if you are struggling with something, I just think it's so beautiful. You're doing adhkar, you're remembering Allah, and He's going to remember you while you are struggling. And He will, inshallah, help you and help you feel better. So adhkar is very important. And then the Quran. Allah sent down the Quran for comfort and contentment. It uses stories of real people, so it's relatable, and it offers coping strategies to feel better about this temporary negativity and distress in this life. It teaches us that even the greatest of people have experienced periods of distress, grief, and sorrow. And we can learn from this that these emotions are just a normal part of being human. Just like Allah gave us life, He also gave us emotions, and reading the Quran can provide guidance, hope, and comfort, and just a stronger sense of connection with Allah. And then tazkiyah is the effort you put to purify your heart and soul. It's when you give up sin and you're acting as though Allah is constantly watching you, you're doing more good deeds, and you're just remaining loyal to Allah. Umar Sulaiman actually had a great series on this, and I know that Ustad Dabari was doing a series on this. So practicing tazkiyah cleanses the soul from negative emotions, and it actually will help someone develop more positive qualities. So I remember in Umar Sulaiman's series, he was saying, how do we replace our negative emotions and attributes with more positive ones? And that is tazkiyah. You're replacing your negative emotions like anxiety, anger, other things like that, to develop more positive ones like gratitude and patience. So practicing tazkiyah is very important. And then lastly, community support. Islam encourages strong community ties and offering support to one another and a sense of belonging. We are not meant to be alone or worship alone. We are supposed to socialize and interact with others. So it encourages community support. We're supposed to get to know one another and talk to each other. Is there any other Islamic practices that you guys think help with mental health that I didn't already cover?
I think sometimes there's so many programs goes on in the area. If we attend, it's this is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many conferences, different issues and all that. I think those are also very helpful.
Yes.
Yeah, being active in the community,
Yeah.
learning, educating.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing you can do is look for people who need help.
Mm-hmm.
If you help them,
Exactly.
then you need to help yourself. That helps.
Exactly. I know there's a hadith, we're supposed to help the orphans, right? And how do we know who's an orphan in our community? We're meant to talk to them, socialize, ask each other questions, get to know the people we are praying around and talking to. And I think it's the same to go for mental health. Let's help those that are struggling with mental health. How do we do that? Let's talk to our brothers and sisters at the masjid that we go and pray next to. Let's get to know each other. Let's be more active in coming to the community events and programs. So I like that, being more active in the community too.
How do the other thing, I cannot find the word exactly, they sit down and just do, what is it called?
I don't know the name. You're talking about the people that worship alone, right?
No, they just sit and meditate. How the meditation people.
Oh, you're saying meditation.
Meditation, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, salah, to me, salah is like a form of meditation because what do? We purify ourselves first, we do wudu, and we cleanse ourselves, and then we're supposed to shut out the whole world around us. as we say Allahu Akbar, we're pushing away all of our distractions, and we are just focusing on Allah, focusing on our salah, and then afterwards we can make dua in our sujood, we can make dua afterwards, and just having that connection with Allah. So to me, salah is like a form of meditation. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being participating. And also I want to talk about some other things Islam has to say on mental health. Islam encourages seeking help and treatment for mental health issues. It views it as a part of maintaining overall health rather than a weakness in faith. So the Prophet ﷺ taught us to seek halal treatment for whatever ails us. This includes both physical and mental health. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah has sent down both the disease and the cure, and He has appointed a cure for every disease. So treat yourselves medically, but use nothing unlawful. So this is showing that even if you have to go to a psychiatrist and they put you on medication to take care of your mental health, that is okay, that is fine, it is halal. And some people, like we said, there is a stigma of mental health. Some people are saying it's haram, like going to therapy, things like that are haram, but that's just ignorant speaking. They don't understand that, no, everyone has mental health, and actually Islam encourages you to seek help and treatment for your mental health. If you're doing your coping skills and you have a good support team around you, sometimes that might not be enough, and you might need some extra help. And I want to show you guys some resources that you should seek if you need more help. But first, how do you know if you might need more help? If you feel like you need someone to talk to, maybe you don't have someone that you're close to that you can speak to about your problems, or if you want to speak to a professional, if you want to learn new coping skills, or if you're just constantly, you still feel overwhelmed, you don't feel confident, or you're struggling with like a big life challenge and you're feeling stressed and worried, that's when you should still seek help and resources. So I'm going to go through a list of resources from like Riverside County, but also some Islamic resources that are here and serve Riverside County. So the first one I do want to talk about is the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, because there are people in the community that do struggle with suicide, and if someone comes to you saying that they struggle with suicide and you don't know what to do, you can refer them to this. You can call 988 or text this number 74741. Or go to this website. It is a 24/7 line that you can contact through calling, messaging, or even just going to the website for support. And this is for suicide prevention. And the next, this one is pretty cool. This is RUHS's Crisis Support System. So they are a 24/7 access line. They have mental health urgent cares in these regions, Riverside, Paris, and Palm Springs. And most importantly, they have a mobile crisis support team. So for example, let's say this was actually a case in the community. There's a household, and a member of that household struggles with psychosis, like schizophrenia, and he got very, very violent, but he's struggling with his mental health, so he got very aggressive and urgent, and this family didn't want to get the police involved. So they can just call this number, 951-686-4357, and the Riverside County will dispatch this bus right here with a psychiatrist to help treat this patient. Also, like a psychiatrist and a team of mental health professionals will come to you, and they will help assist the situation without getting police involved. And then also there is a CVAC team, which they will dispatch to you a police officer and a therapist if you want there to be a police officer that is specially trained with mental health. And so what they can do is they do like short-term mental health cases. So let's say you go to an urgent care or you had to call the CVAC team, they will be able to help you with your case for I believe up to like 16 weeks. But like they'll help you get treatment within those 16 weeks. They'll take you in, diagnose you, see what the issue is, and you can get help through there. So I think this is really cool, and this is free. These mental health urgent cares are free for your mental health. You can stay up to 24 hours. It's voluntary, so the person going has to actually want to go and get help. And Riverside is 18 and up, but these two locations you just need to be 13 and older. And the next initiative, we do help with social services as well as mental health services. So every Saturday we have a food pantry from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. and we have emergency financial assistance. So if someone is struggling, they need Zakat money, we distribute Zakat money. We also do utility assistance, so we will pay a utility bill for you if you're struggling. We have well-being services, so if someone is struggling with their mental health and they want a Muslim therapist, we have Muslim therapists, and we also are working on accepting insurance, as well as we have a fee reduction program. So if someone can't afford therapy services, if they fill out our intake form and they qualify, you can get therapy services for as low as like $20 a session, which is very cheap. Next, I want to talk about Lamps of Light, which is Brother Dawei's program. You guys may have heard of him. I think their program is great too. They have community, I know they also have Muslim therapists. They do screening and assessments. They can do counseling sessions, group counseling sessions, family services, things like that. And you can connect with them. Their information is on that side. And another great thing from Lamps of Light is sisters. This is a sister support group on Wednesdays through Google Meet at 6:30 p.m. If you're like, you know what, I need a better group of sisters, I like people around me where we can be vulnerable and talk about mental health. They do this every Wednesday. It's a virtual women's support group. They're focused on emotional security, trust, and respect. It's free from judgment, criticism, or confidentiality. So if you guys are interested, you can contact info@lifesoflife.org to sign up for the sister support group. And then also I want to talk about Muslim Family Foundation. They also have, I believe they have Muslim therapists. I don't know if they do or they just do referrals, but they can provide a referral for you to go to therapy, family counseling for any of mental health issues you might be facing. They do different counseling programs, so they are also a great Muslim therapy group that's nearby and serves Riverside County. Their information is on this side. And then next, there is Hadith Center. I know they do counseling services, religious consultations, psychiatric services, they do psychological assessments, premarital coaching, career counseling, and this is their info here on the side. And then here's just some additional resources. If you scan this QR code, it will take you to a PDF that has like pages and pages of different resources available to you. So another one that I think is very cool is if you call the number 211, or if you go to connectie.org. This is a database that will show you about all the different resources in the community. So let's say you are interested in therapy. You just go to this website, you type in therapy, and it'll show you all the ones in Riverside County that are close to you. Or if you want a food pantry, it'll take you that, clothing, things like that. You can even call this number. I'm struggling, I can't pay this bill that I have, I need financial assistance. This number can refer you to people that can help. So that is 211. Next is the CARES line. It stands for Community Access, Referral, Evaluation, and Support. So it provides information and referrals for Medi-Cal and Riverside County Health Plan beneficiaries. So if you have Medi-Cal or the RCH plan, then you can call this number to get referrals to mental health services. And then also, if you need more people, if you feel like, again, you want more support, you just want someone to talk to that you can be vulnerable with, there's this website called takemyhand.co. It's staffed by peer support specialists. They can offer you resources, coping strategies, and they can help link you to the right level of care. It's individuals, it's for individuals if you're experiencing difficult feelings and stressors and you just want someone to talk to, you can go to this website and talk to someone. And like I said, if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to more resources. But that concludes my presentation, and I want to thank you all for listening and for allowing me to be here. And before you guys do disperse and we go pray Maghrib Salah, I wanted to ask if we can fill out the evaluation forms. So, Yadamis, can you guys pass out those papers, please, and pen? So, like I said, this program is sponsored by RUHS. The Riverside County sponsored us to come out into the community. And when we started the program, we serve the MENA community, but we at Sahaba openly refer to Swana. So if you are from, if you might ask who is considered MENA, it's all the countries in this region, and as well as more we've listed. But in general, the county, they just kind of call like all Muslims MENA. So if you're a Muslim, you can still mark MENA on the form. But when we started the program, they were saying, oh yeah,